It's all going to zero against Bitcoin.
It's going up forever, Warren.
You're against Bitcoin, you're against freedom.
Yo, welcome to another episode of Simply Bitcoin Live, or your number one source for the peaceful Bitcoin revolution of breaking news, culture, manic warfare. We will be your guide through the separation of money and state. Today, speaking of the separation of money and state, today's going to be an interesting episode. We have so many clips that, so many Bitcoin news sources were just posting on Twitter of Gary Gensler being completely annihilated yesterday in Congress. A lot of people were just asking him very basic questions. Is Bitcoin a commodity or is it a security? He couldn't give a straight answer to that. Why are you guys delaying a spot Bitcoin ETF? You guys know our take at Simply Bitcoin. We've been covering this diligently for the last couple months or so. We believe at this point, it might be, you can't say for sure, but it sure does seem like it could potentially be politically motivated. Why? Because we know how the Biden administration feels about the industry. We had Caitlin Long on Simply Bitcoin IRL, and she said that her bank, the Custodia Bank that she's launching in Wyoming, was denied a federal banking charter. She believes that order came directly from the White House. Also, not to mention all the other reports that came out, for example, the Presidential Economic Report that came out earlier on this year, where they made the case as to why a central bank is necessary, why CBDCs are necessary, and why you can't have money without a government, right? So that being said, also, we were talking to our guest today backstage, and he wanted to talk about Bitcoin potentially returning to China. So we added that into the news lineup. That's going to be an interesting conversation. All in all, I'm super hyped for today's show. Like always, no more delay. Let's bring Brandon up on stage. How you doing, Brandon? Brandon from Bitcoin Magazine. How you doing, bro?
Hey, man. It's good to see you. I'm doing well.
Welcome to the show. But yeah, dude, the conversation we were having, before we went on air just fascinated me because that's something that we've been covering for a couple months now, right? This whole thing where the CCP China is using Hong Kong as we make the case that they're using it as a test bed, right? To try to incentivize industry players to come from overseas to set up shop in Hong Kong. And there's been even articles that have admitted that they needed the stamp of approval from Beijing in order for that to happen. I think it's just another example of you can't resist Bitcoin's incentives. But you were telling me some things before that I didn't know, which I'm really, really excited to talk about today. So yeah, man, welcome to the show. Anyways, I also want to bring up my legendary co-host, always optimistic. He has something different about him today. How you doing, Opti?
I am doing wonderful. What's up, guys? How you doing today? Excited for today's show. I do have a new mic in here. That's what Nico's talking about. We're upgrading here. I'm not sure if I dialed in the settings yet, so tell me in the chat whether I need to dial them in more. But man, what's up, everyone? We're back. Good to have you, Nico. As I was telling everyone in Spaces, I enjoy doing the hosting duties, but I love being the passenger princess and just hanging out and talking Bitcoin with my friends.
Man, I mean, you're killing it, bro. Yesterday's show popped off. Opti's learned, man. Opti's become a hell of a host.
Wait, hold on. Since we have Brandon here, Nick Can't Mine isn't the only one that has the algos. We are learning the algos, bro.
No, hey, the YouTube algos or YouTube
they're different.
Our YouTube algo game is strong, but Nick Can't Mine is a Twitter algo guru, man.
Give
for
me
sure.
the
He's a machine.
He's a machine.
Yeah.
He's a monster. In a good way. So yeah, really excited about today's show, guys. No more delay. Let's jump straight into the numbers. We got a lot to talk about today. Let's check it out.
The Bitcoin numbers.
Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Is your seed phrase really secure? Stamp Seed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you need to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of just writing them on paper. Don't store your generational wealth on paper. Paper is prone to water damage, fire damage. You want to put your generational wealth on one of the strongest metals on planet Earth, titanium. Your words are actually stamped into this metal plate with this hammer and these letter stamps. And once your words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamped seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They're also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and time-proof. All things that paper is not, allowing you to hodl your Bitcoin with peace of mind for the long haul. Stamp your seed on Stamped Seed. All right, everybody, before we get to the numbers, I made it super easy for you guys. Scan the QR code on your screen. It'll take you directly to the Stamped Seed website. Store your generational wealth on titanium. Don't store it on paper. You don't want to have that conversation with your grandchildren. Why you lost your Bitcoin? Because you started on paper. At the time of recording, Bitcoin is pumping 27,155 sats per dollar, 3,683. Block height 809,762. Blocks to halving 30,238. Halving estimate April 21st, 2024. Total Lightning Network capacity 4,398 Bitcoin. Capacity value 119 million US dollars. Realized monetary inflation 1.75%. Continuing to take fiat currencies to absolute school. The market capitalization of Bitcoin $529 billion at the B. Bitcoin versus gold market cap 4.18%. Eventually that will be 100%. Eventually, that will be more than 100%. If Bitcoin reaches the gold market cap, that puts the price of Bitcoin at about 500,000 per coin. Anyways, today's video that we're going to talk about is a blast from the past. Check this out. You know, this is so crazy. This wasn't even that long ago. But a Documenting Bitcoin posted a video. This historic television news report explained how to buy an entire Bitcoin for only $3, right? Could you imagine buying a Bitcoin for only $3? That's crazy. People will look back on this, 10 years from now and they'll be like, holy cow, how did that happen? But I think that serves as a message to today because, at that time when they were talking about Bitcoin being at only $3, no one was paying attention, obviously. So I think it's a lesson for, where is Bitcoin going to be 10 years from now? I truly believe because of its absolute scarcity, because it's just simply better money. 27,000 is going to seem like a hell of a deal 10 years from now. 20 years to now, I think it's going to melt people's faces when you tell them that you were able to pick up one Bitcoin for 27K. Anyways, no more delay. I'm going to play you guys the video and then we'll talk about it.
Have the dollar, Japan has the yen, and the internet, it has the Bitcoin.
Yeah, this online currency offers a new way to use money, but many aren't sold on the idea.
KLD News 13's JD Wallace is live tonight with his special report to show us what Bitcoin offers and why some people stay away from it. JD?
Well, Heather, there's a reason we call it cold, hard cash. It's right here, but going to be a pain to send somewhere. And some think that banks are too involved with cash transactions and value. Well, that's where Bitcoin comes in. It's online, anonymous, and constantly changing in value. Both supporters and doubters agree Bitcoin, a new kind of money, is a risk. Taking money online can be a game changer in the world of bank transactions and interest fees.
A lot of people see Bitcoin as a way to kick out the role of a central bank and basically fire it.
Bitcoin enthusiast Mike Caldwell says converting cash to the online currency is convenient.
I don't have any philosophical problems with the government. I pay my taxes like I should. I'm a good citizen. I follow the laws.
Here's how it works. Bitcoins were created in 2009. As the number of them goes up, the virtual money gets harder and harder to create to try to control the value. Early this year, you could buy a Bitcoin for less than $1 and sell it for $30 this summer. Or, by now, one is worth just a few dollars. But Caldwell says the real value is for sending cash in the form of Bitcoins.
It's not a way to make money or lose money. It's a way to get money from point A to point B. The value of the coin really means nothing compared to the technology.
not only do you want to be careful using Bitcoin, you want to be careful with entities that are asking you to use Bitcoin as their currency, because there's generally, there's a possibility that they're trying to hide something.
Here, Data Doctor CEO Ken Colburn shows us an exchange. They're worth just over $3 each.
And most people.
So I'll let you guys decide who was wrong and who was right. But yeah, anyone who listened to that person's advice, that I don't want to name him, but that specific individual, absolutely wrecked. And that guy's predictions must have sounded like absolute crazy talk, like loony talk back then, right? This idea like, oh yeah, this is the money to replace the central bank. Remember, look, guys, we talk about the concept of the Overton window a lot on this show, right? Think about how much it has shifted since then. Bitcoin is now legal tender of a country. Michael Saylor is proving that it's an alternative to holding fiat on its balance sheet. You have the BlackRock spot Bitcoin ETF. Back then, like that was unheard of, right? So that guy called it, and that guy must have so much corn. And I saw someone in the chat that he was the inventor, or he created the original physical Bitcoins that would have a Bitcoin on them, like with a QR code on the back.
Casacious coin?
Yeah, Casacious coin. I didn't want to say the name because I knew I was going to butcher the pronunciation. But yeah, man, holy cow. That guy's an absolute legend. He nailed it. And I think he got it absolutely right. And I think, to be fair, the news people were neutral about it, a lot more neutral than they would be today. And that other guy, hashtag wrecked. Definitely regrets not picking up some corn. Anyways, Brandon, what's your take? And then we'll move on to Opti.
Yeah, a few takes. Number one, I went and looked up this Ken Colburn guy on Twitter. Like, my take is there needs to be a Where Are They Now show of like people who are talking about Bitcoin in 2011, just to like check in and see what's going on. Also, while that was playing, I was looking up like this aired in Tucson, Arizona. I gotta wonder if there's like one person in Tucson who watched this news article or this news show and was like, I'm gonna buy some, and like that's their origin story in Bitcoin, which would just be cool. So those are my thoughts. But dude, I mean, it's crazy to think that it was in the news in 2011 like that, still with people being like, oh, it's risky, and it was risky at $3. Man, you got to be really salty right now.
Yeah, dude, that must have hurt. That must have hurt, but and now, now it's like you talk about Bitcoin now, and there's a big portion of the population that's like, this thing isn't risky. Like, this is common sense. Like, this is like obvious, So where do you think we are in the adoption curve? There's that famous innovators, early majority. I forget what comes after innovators, but you know what I'm talking about. Where do you think we are in the adoption curve, Brandon?
Yeah, I think it goes like innovators, early adopters, early majority, late adopters, something like that, right? And then holdouts. So I think that we're very much in like that innovator or in the early adopter phase, probably like halfway through it. But I think at the end of this cycle, we'll be into the early majority. So, the reason why I think that is we've generally seen like around a 10x in terms of like the users of Bitcoin through every single halving cycle. So, if you want to say we're somewhere in the ballpark of 100 million, crypto people, let's say, which a huge subset of them obviously are Bitcoiners, then I think that you should be expecting 1 billion in the next cycle. And it's our job to make sure that it's 1 billion Bitcoiners and not 1 billion people stuck in, some worthless other, I don't know if you're allowed to cuss on the show, but the other coins that are just,
you can say shitcoin. It's okay.
Okay. Yeah. You don't want to be in a shitcoiner, in the early majority. I mean, imagine. So yeah, dude, I mean, I think this next cycle is going to be nuts, like melt your faces, crazier than any other cycle we've had. And we had, a country make Bitcoin legal tender in the last cycle. Imagine where we're going to be in this next one. I I have some bold predictions, but some of them are maybe even too bold to say publicly without getting laughed at. So
it's interesting because a lot of people, I see the kind of like this. A lot of people were let down by the last cycle, and I think that there are some reasons for that, right? The rehypothecation, but most importantly, the China ban, which happened right in the middle of the last cycle when the price was going up. China ban happened, hash rate plummeted, and that took down the price with it as miners had to sell Bitcoin to relocate their miners, which is a very expensive process. But you were saying something before we aired that, I'm going to ask you about that during the news. But yeah, man, I think that it's always the opposite, right? Last cycle, people are like, holy cow, this thing's going to go to 250K. And I think what the general consensus now that I see on Bitcoin Twitter is this like very, very conservative, like, oh, we'll be lucky if this thing reaches 100K. We'll be lucky if this thing reaches 120K. So that's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm listening, what I'm seeing, right? It's an observation, right? But what happened last cycle was the exact opposite of what the masses thought. Could a similar story repeat? Brandon, you want to add to that?
Yeah, so I mean, the three big things I saw last cycle that just kind of ruined the market structure. Number one, obviously the China ban, like you mentioned, which we'll get into later. Number two, I think Elon played a huge role. If you look at just, that's how big we were in the last cycle, right? Someone like Elon Musk could play a big role in the market structure of Bitcoin. And I remember in like early January or something, he put out his like, in hindsight, it was inevitable, Bitcoin in the bio. Everyone went nuts. And then, right around the same time as the China ban came out, Elon came out saying like, oh, I didn't realize how much of an economic or an environmental impact Bitcoin had. And, he kind of not fully turned on it, but definitely helped the downward pressure on the market. So that was number two. And then number three was the leverage in the system. I mean, more so than any other market cycle, so many people were buying Bitcoin on leverage. They weren't actually stacking sats and self-custodying. They were putting it on, FTX, paper Bitcoin, that you can't actually know the underlying assets are even there. And it turns out, a year later or half a year later, we find out FTX has a synthetic Bitcoin short that they created by, creating more Bitcoin than were actually on the exchange. So, all three of those things, I think, fed together in order to hurt the bull market structure. But number one, Bitcoin, I think, cannot be affected by Elon at this point. I think we're just bigger than that in space. Number two, China is going to continue to evolve in terms of how they're going to see Bitcoin, and we'll talk about that later. And then number three, I think maybe we haven't solved the leverage issue, but I'll actually say maybe this leads into another topic, but an ETF does a lot to fix some of those problems. And so, I can explain that more. We can kind of pause there, but that's what I'm thinking.
The general consensus of what you're saying, Brandon, is you feel bullish. You feel bullish about the next cycle, and I completely agree. And yeah, man, I agree with all the points that you're saying. There are so many variables, and I think Bitcoin will be so big that it'll be hard for any one single individual to influence it. Anyways, Opti, what's your take on all this before we move on to the news?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to double down kind of what Brandon was saying. I've been saying it for a while as well, that I'm also fully convinced that this next bull run is going to be absolutely bananas. Like it from everything I'm seeing, it seems like it's going to be one of those perfect storm moments. I hate to say that it's super cycle time, but it does feel like it's going to have some very, very huge green candles, God month candles up here. And it's just going to be awesome to be a part of. And then kind of back to what we were talking about in that video. Nico, you asked a question like, can you imagine buying Bitcoin at $3? No, I can't, because I didn't. I was too stupid to understand Bitcoin in 2011. Actually, I was a kid, so I didn't even have money anyways. But I still feel that 27K is stupidly cheap. Like, it's incredibly undervalued right now and people are still not buying it, and they probably won't buy it until it breaks all-time high anyways. So like right now is, and actually Brandon asked a great question, you know, $3 Bitcoin seem risky, and yet people are still saying the same thing about $27,000 Bitcoin, and it still feels risky to people. And it's like, I am one of those people that Nico was talking about, where this feels like the safest thing to be holding, in my opinion. But I really enjoyed that video because, like, the video was in 2011, and the journalism around Bitcoin at the time is better than we're seeing now.
Yeah,
like,
it's so it's like actually neutral. It's like these are the pros, these are the cons.
It was actually incredible. Like, imagine if we saw that type of coverage today about Bitcoin, there'd be a lot more Bitcoiners. And obviously we're starting to see inklings of this happen in real time. You know, we had Mickey come on here and talk about Forbes and stuff. And I'm sure as this BlackRock ETFs, or all the ETFs rather, start to get approved, we'll see the tune change around Bitcoin. But there was one thing she said that I really enjoyed, and I think it's a great meme that we should steal. And she goes, the US has a dollar, China has the yen, and the internet has Bitcoin. Like, that is a solid meme that you can plant in people's brains to kind of explain what is actually going on out here. But I mean, it just goes to show also, in another sense, I don't know if you guys saw the video and people were saying like, what, this video looks like it's from 1990s. Like, what is going on? It just goes to show how far Bitcoin has come since
people don't realize how long ago 2011 was, bro.
What's
like
12?
Like 2011, dude, but like the iPhone that they were using, like the UIs from the website. It
looked like AOL, bro.
Yeah,
it was like
dude,
straight up AOL.
People don't realize like that was a really long ass fucking time ago, right?
Bitcoin has came a long way.
Yeah, everything has, like the internet, you know, like could you imagine like streaming this in 2011? You would have been like, no, that's impossible.
Was YouTube even like a big thing in 2011?
It was, but it was just starting. It was just starting, bro. It was just starting. Anyways, guys, before we move on to the news, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor. Bitcoin 2024 is going to be the largest Bitcoin conference on planet Earth. It's not going to be in Miami this year. It's going to be in Nashville, Tennessee, July 25th through the 27th, 2024, the year of the halving. You want to get your tickets quickly before the prices go up. For a GA ticket, it's $349. For an industry pass, it's $849. If you're trying to get a job in the industry, I highly recommend this one. The day before the conference starts, it's a little bit quieter. You know, you could talk to people. It's awesome. That's the day that Saylor does his rounds, is the industry day. So I definitely recommend that pass. And then of course the whale pass, if you want the whole VIP experience for $4,749, you can use the promo code SIMPLY to get a 10% discount to the largest Bitcoin conference on planet Earth, Bitcoin 2024. All right, Opti, let's get to the news.
The Daily News.
I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Foundation Devices. It's self-custody done right. They built a premium grade hardware wallet called Passport right here in the US. It's fully open source and verifiable. It's the most intuitive Bitcoin wallet designed with a UX reminiscent of a simple feature phone. So you will know how to navigate it and use it the moment you pick it up. Get your Bitcoin off exchanges and into your own hands in just a few minutes. Experience the peace of mind that comes with taking ownership of your own keys. After a massive sellout during Bitcoin Miami 2023, the Passport is back in stock at foundationdevices.com. Bitcoin only, open source verifiable, completely air gap security model, gorgeous design craft, premium grade materials. If you're thinking about getting your Bitcoin off exchanges, this is the one for you. Check out the Passport link in the show notes below to learn more. All right, guys, I made it super easy for you guys. Once again, scan the QR code on your screen. It will take you directly to the Foundation Devices website where you can get yourself a Passport hardware wallet. Not your keys, not your Bitcoin. Anyways, guys, I also want to give a shout out to our viewers on Rumble. That continues to go up. So if you guys don't see us on YouTube for whatever reason, you could find the live stream on Twitter and you could find it on Rumble. So shout out to all of you that are watching us on Rumble. And of course, shout out to all of you guys that are watching us on YouTube. If you're enjoying the show, make sure to smash that like button. Help us keep our streak of breaking 100 likes within the first hour of the show. Anyways, we're going to go straight into Gary Gensler getting absolutely grilled. But I had a really good conversation, a couple minute conversation with Brandon before. and he had some experiences in Hong Kong. I just want to set the scene, give a little bit of context. This is a Washington Post article. It says why Hong Kong wants to be a hub for the crypto sector. So we've been covering this for quite a while. The theory that I've made is that they're using the one country, two systems, where Hong Kong is this supposedly, it has a system, it has a separate government type. It was a British colony for a long time, and part of the deal was that they were going to keep the government system separate. Obviously, that has changed over the years. Freedom of speech was attacked for a while, but what's really, really interesting is, again, the push by the Hong Kong government to attract Bitcoin and shitcoin businesses back to the city. Now, they could only do this with the stamp of approval of Beijing, right? And it's something that not only Simply Bitcoin has said, but I think the Washington Post, or it is Reuters. Anyways, it was a legacy corporate media outlet that came to that same conclusion as well. Anyways, Brennan, do you have any more insights into what's going on? Your thoughts into, because you said something to me right before that really caught me off guard, because I haven't really heard anyone else say it, which is you suspect that you're going to see a rise of Bitcoin use in China once again.
Yeah, totally. So, I think that the Asian market for Bitcoin is going to be a huge one in this next cycle in general. It was the driving market really even in the 2017 kind of era, and especially before then. Most Bitcoin miners were in China. Obviously Bitmain was in China. And, what really happened, what we saw in 2017 was kind of the first big Bitcoin ban by China, first of all. And second of all, you have this scaling war, right? Because, Jihan and Bitmain were so pro on-chain scaling and Bitcoin Cash, you had a large portion of the Asian market actually go into Bitcoin Cash. Obviously, they got wrecked, and, it didn't work out well for them. But there's still Bitcoiners out there, right? And so I see, the Bitcoin Cash kind of fork is dead, right? If you're still kind of holding on to that, I don't know what you're expecting to happen at this point. So there's that portion of the market that's going to come back to Bitcoin. They are coming back to Bitcoin right now. And then secondly, everyone who was in China when China banned Bitcoin purchases, right? They banned the purchasing and selling of Bitcoin. They didn't ban ownership of Bitcoin though. So they're all just sitting on their sats, and they're there. They're still Bitcoiners. They're still in China. They just aren't allowed to buy Bitcoin right now. Now, tying it back to this Hong Kong kind of change in tone, you now have the ability for crypto and Web3, quote unquote, companies to start offering Bitcoin purchases once again. Now, you have to have a Hong Kong address or a Hong Kong cell phone, or some way to kind of locate yourself there. But it's the first real opportunity for kind of mainland Chinese Bitcoiners to really start getting back into the Bitcoin market and start buying again. So that's huge. And then, the second piece of this, obviously, we mentioned China banned Bitcoin mining in 2021, and they left, but not entirely. And we are starting to see, the Chinese Bitcoiners, man, they're a different breed from even us American Bitcoiners. They are resourceful, they are rebels, and, they're finding ways to basically get back into the Bitcoin mining game in China. And so some of the things that they're doing, there's a lot of hydroponics there that, require heating sources. And so they're disguising Bitcoin mining as heating sources for the hydroponics there. Similarly, rural villages, they need kind of flowing air, heating in the wintertime, et cetera. Where's that heat coming from? Oh, it's, maybe coming from Bitcoin mining now, and they just don't even realize it, right? And so there's a ton of infrastructure that gets built out that people are not realizing is kind of being powered by Bitcoin mining. And so they're reintegrating into the Chinese infrastructure. And I think that's huge. It's also great for Bitcoin, right? Instead of these being just kind of these large data center type structures, Bitcoin mining just becomes a translation of energy and a creation of heat as a byproduct that we use in everyday life. And I think that that's like super bullish in general for just, you know, the structure of Bitcoin mining. So, you know, those things are starting to compound. The other thing that I did mention kind of before the call that's at least worth kind of keeping track of is Hong Kong has, I think, an agenda with Web3. Again, they use that term. I wouldn't use that term. That's the term they use, is Web3. And really, I think what they're expecting to be able to build is a Hong Kong dollar stablecoin. And so, you know, it's not the most bullish kind of outcome here, but I think the bullish part of it, or the exciting part of it, is that there's no way for them to kind of create the infrastructure, the regulatory environment to create a coin like that without also opening it up to Bitcoin. And so I very much see like Bitcoin kind of Trojan horsing in along with whatever quote unquote Web3 environment they're trying to create. And, you know, the Bitcoiners will take over because we're the only game in town, truthfully. So that's the broad kind of broad strokes of what I'm seeing over there. And I see it as just a huge trend. Not enough people are talking about this. Like, Asia will once again overtake the West in terms of trading volumes for Bitcoin, in terms of buying, you know, purchasing power for Bitcoin, and innovation, I think, too. You know, the regulatory environment's just way more right. Tons of companies are relocating over there. And so for all those reasons, very bullish on Asia, very bullish on China and Bitcoin.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that, right? Because I remember I talked to a buddy of mine who I've known for a very, very long time. He's, you know, he's Chinese. He lives in mainland China, and you know, he's huge into Bitcoin. And I asked him when the China ban happened, and I said, "Hey, man, aren't you worried?" And then, you know, with a heavy accent, he said, "No, Nico, what doesn't kill the honey badger makes it stronger." And I'm like, holy cow, you know, we're all speaking the same language and we're separated, you know, thousands of miles away. And Bitcoin is this like this unifier. Anyways, Opti, what's your take on all this before we hit the Gary Gensler news?
Yeah, well, we've been kind of saying the same thing about the US, that now moving forward, like the only game in town is Bitcoin. And so all that shitcoin capital that's been wasted going to shitcoins is going to finally get funneled back into Bitcoin. And so really awesome to hear brands' takes on that also happening in Asian countries as well. And I think moving forward, it kind of goes back to what we said in the numbers. Like, this bull run is most likely going to be set up for a perfect storm of just being absolutely epic for everyone that's been stacking this brutal bear market. And so now is not the time to take your foot off the gas, because things are getting more and more interesting by the day. And I say it all the time, you know, in regards to if your government tries to ban Bitcoin, that just goes to show exactly why you need Bitcoin. And now we have a real time example of this happening and people understanding that you can't kill the honey badger. So awesome.
You know, one quick last thing on this. I mentioned this to you guys before the show, but we were sitting with like a delegation from the Hong Kong government, a couple of academics from local universities, and they were talking to us about like how Hong Kong is opening up for Web3 and Web3 this and Web3 that. And David, who I was with, asked them point blank. He was like, "Why do you guys talk about Web3? Why don't, like, no one has said the word Bitcoin yet. Why don't you talk about Bitcoin?" And in this, you know, unique sense of just like truthfulness that came out of nowhere, one of the people from the delegation said, "We don't talk about what we hide under our mattress." And so when I tell you that these Bitcoiners over there are of a different breed, man, they are true rebels, and I'm bullish on them.
Dude,
love to hear it.
That is so freaking epic. Anyways, all right, guys. So let's talk about the Gary Gensler stuff. Obviously, pressure is mounting. Once again, another large asset manager, $1.5 trillion assets under management, has filed for also they want to launch a spot Bitcoin ETF. So, like, you know, you have Fidelity, you have BlackRock, you have Franklin Templeton, not to mention all the countless others. You know, that's a tremendous amount of pressure building. And the big question is this, has it not been approved for political reasons? The reason I'm saying this is something that we've covered on the show for many, many months now. This was the article that Nick Carter put together, that I think coined the phrase Operation Choke Point 2.0. And what he was referencing is basically the U.S. government's attempt, or supposed attempt, better said, to isolate the industry from the traditional financial system, right? And he presented a lot of examples, right? The most recent is the Senator Elizabeth Warren bill that is actually bipartisan. She got Senator Lindsey Graham to co-sponsor the bill, and she got a bunch of other, I think it was 9 other Democratic senators to jump on the bill as well. Now, the probability that it will pass is low, just to be clear. But in that bill, Pierre Richard literally said, if this bill passes, it will kill Bitcoin mining in the U.S. And it would also it would force KYC on software, on wallet providers. So whether it's software wallet or a hardware wallet, the bill is basically structured in a way where like it's meant to kill the industry without, a total, China-like, top-down ban, so to speak. But it's essentially a de facto ban, right? And of course, like I mentioned in the beginning of the show, right, you had the federal banking charter denied for Caitlin Long's bank in Wyoming. And Nick Carter in a bunch of these, lays out a bunch of other examples, right? Now, also, there's a report that was released by the U.S. Treasury called The Future of Money and Payments. And in that report, literally called The Future of Money and Payments, they talk about payment platforms, they talk about stable coins, and they talk about CBDCs. They barely mention Bitcoin, and if they do mention Bitcoin, it's like they mention it in a negative light, right? I mean, it makes sense, right? Obviously, governments benefit tremendously from being able to create money for free that everyone else has to work for. Obviously, you can make the case that they would want to maintain that privilege. And that goes to, why we have made the case as to why, this spot Bitcoin ETF being delayed could be politically motivated. Here's Tom Emmer. He is the GOP majority whip. And let's see what he has to say. This was a press conference before the financial committee where they interviewed, or they had a conversation with Gary Gensler, who's the head of the SEC. Let's check out what Tom Emmer has to say.
Thank you. I identify with both the conference chair's remarks and Michael Cloud's remarks, but for me, it's a big day in Congress for more reasons than what we've talked about so far. Today, SEC Chair Gary Gensler is going to testify before the House Financial Services Committee. And boy, does he have a lot to answer for. Under Gary Gensler's leadership, I would say failed leadership, the SEC has been an incompetent cop on the beat. Throughout his career, Gensler has been relentlessly loyal to the biggest institutions at the expense of everyday Americans. Today, he's going to face some important questions about that. Gary Gensler has worked to consolidate his own power, even though it means crushing opportunities and, frankly, the financial future of this country. This strategy hasn't been successful for him. As you note, the SEC continues to lose again and again in the courts on its crusade against digital asset innovation. So it should be increasingly obvious that the crypto industry is not an industry rife with noncompliance. Rogue bureaucrats like Gary Gensler are supposed to be working for the people, not reigning over them. I, for one, would like to see the SEC return to its mission and make sure that they protect opportunities for every American who wants to participate in the greatest capital markets in the world. Digital asset innovation is an important part of that. Despite what Gary Gensler thinks, he is not a government of one. He is a bureaucrat who answers to Congress, and I look forward to having him before our committee today. And now I turn it over to our beloved leader, the toughest man in Congress, Steve Scalise.
So, I mean, like that was some very, very strong words, to say the least. And here is Gary Gensler getting absolutely grilled. Here is one of the questions that he has asked. Here's Isabella. I think she's with you guys at Bitcoin Magazine. And let's hear what he has to say when he was asked, is Bitcoin a security or a commodity?
I would say it's not a security, and then the test is otherwise for other laws. I would say it's.
Anyways, I have some more clips for you guys. This is a very, very strong one. Once again, here is a U.S. congressman asking Gary Gensler saying some very, very strong statements.
Our boy
and
Warren Davidson.
It introduces a major questions doctrine. And you told Mr. Barr that you received tons of feedback on your proposed ESG disclosure rules, feedback that should make clear that the proposal for ESG disclosure is a question, and it should make clear that you don't have the legal authority to do that. So I'd ask you to knock it off, cease and desist, and work with this body to pass a law if you want to regulate something. You know, frankly, your time as chairman has highlighted two problems: a Gary Gensler problem and a structural flaw in the SEC. And as I told you in April, I proposed a solution called the SEC Stabilization Act. You're making the case for this bill easier every day you are acting as the chairman by doing rulemaking after rulemaking without any regard to the impact of these rules, or maybe that's the feature for you, I don't know. But it's having a massive impact on our markets. I mean, we have markets that truly are the envy of the world, and why would you disrupt them with processes that are driving capital out of our markets? Not because to avoid our laws, but to find some place where they can get clarity, where they can work with a regulator and get a decision and a path forward. So instead of selectively applied, you're not providing clarity with a rule that's evenly applied. You're intentionally shortening comment periods to limit feedback, and the courts have even called this arbitrary and capricious. You're pushing a woke political and social agenda, and I think abusing your role and the authority of the SEC as cover. So, I think fundamentally, the SEC Stabilization Act would remove the role of chairman. It would preserve the current commissioners, but it would add a sixth commissioner. So there would be no more than 3 from any one political party. And so that would provide a path that would make the SEC do what you're avoiding. Frankly, you're front-running Congress, you're front-running the courts, you're front-running even the own administration, and no one has held you to account for that. I mean, I wish the Biden administration would say you're fired, but the list of folks they need to do that for is long. Congress hopefully will with the SEC Stabilization Act. I yield.
Gentleman's time's expired.
That is hot fire coming in. Poor Gary yesterday. I'm going to play you guys this last clip. And again, just more grilling. Let's check it out. This is from Tom Emmer himself.
Do you believe the vast majority of digital assets meet the investment contract test and are therefore securities operating illegally outside of the U.S. regulatory umbrella?
As I've said, many of these assets are basically the public is anticipating
Sir, is
profits
that a
based
yes?
on the efforts of others.
Is the answer then yes?
Again, without prejudging anyone, I do think that the significant
Reclaiming my
majority
time.
are
I'll take it as a
investment
yes.
contracts.
And to be clear, sir, this perspective has nothing to do with a concern you noted in a speech last year where you said, quote, "Over the past year, several bank executives have shared their concerns with me about the sheer number of depositors who have moved money from their bank accounts into crypto-related exchanges and wallets," end quote, right?
The concern that those bank executives raised was that there's
Again, I reclaim my time,
customers were
sir.
getting
No,
hurt.
I've asked you to answer the questions as short as I can so I can use the time I have, and it's clear that you would like to avoid answering the questions, in my opinion. An Obama-appointed judge in the Southern District of New York, a bank-friendly jurisdiction where you bring most of your cases, recently found that decentralized financial technology, quote, not only removes the so-called middlemen from these transactions, but it also allows users to interact through a variety of methods in an easy and efficient manner, end quote. The court also said underwriters, like the ones at banks where you work, sir, are, quote, precisely the types of individual roles that decentralized exchanges were designed to eliminate, end quote. Mr. Gensler, can you assure this committee that your style of regulation by harassment towards digital asset innovation is to the benefit of every American and not driven by your desires to protect industry incumbents?
This is a field that's rife with fraud and manipulation, and I'm looking out for the American investors who've been hurt by the crypto.
Yeah. I'll read Mr. Gensler, despite your years of rhetoric, like today, I'm convinced you are not an impartial regulator. Instead, it's clear that you are working to consolidate your own power, even though it questions opportunities for Americans and, frankly, the financial future of this country. Even the federal courts are highlighting the damage you, sir, are doing to our constituents, and they're telling you that you don't have legal authority to accomplish your goal of squashing competition in the financial markets. Congress has been telling you that too. Now, Mr. Gensler, I believe our great financial system is the definition of freedom in this country, and congressional policies must provide room for the traditional financial system to evolve alongside the disruptive digital asset ecosystem. That said, it cannot be understated that a common theme throughout your career, sir, is your relentless loyalty to the largest financial institutions at the clear expense of innovation, competition, and everyday Americans. I yield back.
I suspect some large financial institutions would not agree with that.
There's no question. Now, sir, I've yielded.
Oh man, oh man. That was absolutely brutal. Someone said bread and circuses. I completely agree, but they said something very interesting, which was bank executives said that they were concerned people are withdrawing. And I want you guys to connect the dots with the Chase news that came out earlier on this week, where Chase literally said that we were going to stop people from purchasing or transacting in crypto assets and digital assets and Bitcoin in the United Kingdom, and just kind of connect the dots with what Gary Gensler was saying, because it's true. Look, I could speak for myself. Like, I try to have as little money in a bank as humanly possible to operate my businesses. And my personal checking, like, again, like I have money there to just, live and whatever, but I feel better with my wealth in Bitcoin. I like the sovereignty that it provides. And I think that as time progresses, more and more people are going to become like me once they realize the benefits of Bitcoin, the benefits of a sound money. Now, another thing that kind of bums me out a little bit is, you could tell how badly crypto has been used as air cover for justification for a lot of the actions made by the SEC. Like, crypto has given the industry, because a lot of people see the crypto industry and the Bitcoin industry as one, and it's given the industry a bad name, right? Like, all the fraud, all the stuff, it's like, look at all the stuff that's happening. It's like, yeah, that was a crypto exchange. That was FTX. Like, that was people, selling, offering yield, right? It had nothing to do with like, buy Bitcoin, take that Bitcoin into self-custody, forget about it. It had nothing to do with that. But they commingle the two, and I suspect they're using, all the fraud that is actually happening in the industry as a justification, as a reason as to why, we can't allow this to happen. We can't have Custodia have a federal banking charter. We can't have a spot Bitcoin ETF. Anyways, Brandon, what's your take on this? He got absolutely hammered, brother. Like, you can't deny that.
Yeah, so and I'm seeing some of the comments like roll in as well. Like, you can just totally opt out, and ignore U.S. politics, and that's fine. Like, it is bread and circus to a large extent. Some of the guys we heard from there, Warren Davidson, Tom Emmer, Patrick McHenry, they are actually like trying to fight for the Bitcoin industry. It's because there's aligned incentives. Don't get me wrong. I think the three of them, all three are like publicly disclosing they own Bitcoin, right? And they see the opportunity of being pro Bitcoin and what that means for, their pockets, right? And their reelection. But, in the end, like, they're going to actually fight for the Bitcoin industry in DC, and that's worth something, right? I think if you look at kind of how the conversations are going, of course, like, really screwed the entire industry in the US, and Bitcoin just got, caught all the strays with it. And so this is something that's going to play out across months, years, etc. My take on Gary Gensler specifically is that I see him as just kind of in the orbit of Elizabeth Warren. And I think that Elizabeth Warren is ultimately calling a lot of the shots here. I think that he probably sees his future political career riding her coattails. And that's disappointing because, there was a world in which she could have been an advocate for Bitcoin. Her ability to be relevant stemmed from the 2008 financial crisis, just like Bitcoin's did. Her belief that the banks were predatory on everyday people is the same beliefs that drove myself and many people to Bitcoin in the first place. But ultimately, this is my personal belief, but I think that as a regulator and as a lawmaker coming out of 2008, I think she made a deal with the devil. I think that she probably, as the new kind of preeminent regulator of banking in the US, probably made a deal with the bankers to say, look, I'm going to regulate you guys, but I'll make sure that you don't get replaced. And I'll make sure that you never, get supplanted. and I'll protect you as long as you guys accept my regulations. And so I think that this is really a banking sector in combination with the Democratic wing of the government using Gary Gensler as their political kind of pawn in the SEC to curtail the industry in the U.S. And so it's pretty clear to me, and it's disappointing. It's disappointing. So I will say, I saw a lot of comments talking about how everyone's ultimately in BlackRock's pocket, and that's true too. And so that's kind of the thing that's waiting in the wings, the black swan waiting to happen is, once again, aligned incentives are going to rule the day here. And BlackRock is sitting there waiting for their Bitcoin ETF approval. And they have every incentive now for Bitcoin to get an ETF. And I'm sure they're going to be pushing very soon to make sure that happens. And so, I think the situation and the equation is going to turn around very quickly. I can pause there. We can talk more about, Bitcoin ETFs broadly.
Yeah, man. That's I love that insight, and I completely agree. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. I do agree that she potentially made a deal with the devil, and she was one of the advocates, right? Like, I remember that, like the whole, I forget what the name of the movement was.
Occupy Wall Street.
Occupy Wall Street. She was a part of a lot of that, right? But here, now that we have this this solution, right? It's just interesting that how hell bent she is to fight it. It's like she teamed up with the people that she supposedly was fighting against, So, but I think over time, all of that will get exposed. Opti, what's your take before we get onto the culture?
Well, first, you're talking about Elizabeth Warren, and I just instantly popped in my head, like, politicians don't want solutions, Nico. They just want to talk about problems so they can get more money. Come on, bro. You know the playbook. And to the initial question of whether I think Gary Gensler approving a spot Bitcoin ETF, or rather not approving one, is political, I would obviously just double down and say it's very obviously political. I think it's becoming very clear, and Brandon touched on it as well, that Gary Gensler is basically a big bank shill. He's playing cover for the banks, and I think it's becoming very obvious that this is the case. And then, of course, to the other point, if we do get a new president, then it's most likely like Gary Gensler is going to be out in his position at SEC, and so he probably is thinking about his political career and where he's headed after that. So you got to remember that all these things are intertwined, and this is why nothing ever gets done in politics, because they're thinking for their career political moves and what goes on afterwards and who's going to be paying these paychecks. So you can't convince me otherwise that this isn't political. But then, of course, as Terrence has been covering on Twitter for a long time, we also have to remember all the crazy stuff going on with Binance. And so all this stuff combined is most likely why we aren't going to see anything happen by the end of this year, even though we try to stay as bullish as possible. But it's going to be very interesting moving to next year and seeing when these spot Bitcoin ETFs do get approved. But, for everyone in the audience, just the average Bitcoiner that probably is already completely outside of the system and all in and has their total net worth in Bitcoin, thank you very much, Gary Gensler and friends, for keeping the Bitcoin so low so that we can just continue to stack. And again, guys, need I remind you what the playbook is? We see this happen all the time. You FUD Bitcoin, you slow roll Bitcoin, you stack your bags. Once your bags are stacked, you embrace Bitcoin and the price starts running. So I am sure that this is the playbook that we're seeing on the back end. And then, of course, as just a Bitcoiner that came to Bitcoin because he was so turned off by politics in general and basically was apolitical, this does seem like political theater, obviously, but I don't know, man. The closer I watch some of this stuff, the more it seems like there still is a few politicians out there that are trying to do good and still abide by the oaths that they took to get into office. And like Brandon said, they are incentive driven. And if they hold Bitcoin, then they understand that if you fight Bitcoin, that's literally anti-American. Like, you can't convince me otherwise. Bitcoin is freedom money. I thought this was a country based on freedom, and all the politicians are bought and sold. Like, what is going on here? This is not the world we were sold, or not the country we were sold when we grew up. And yet it seems like everyone is just ignoring the elephant in the room, and no one wants to talk about where their paychecks are coming. Let's not forget about the fact that Nancy Pelosi is the greatest trader of our generation, and that she came into office with like $100,000 salary, and now she's a multi-millionaire. Like, where's this money coming from? Guys, we know where it's coming from. It's from the lobbying groups. Like, it's no coincidence that these career politicians are getting paid on the back end, and then they support their friends in those companies. Like, it's just simple incentives, and we say it all the time. It's either the fiat incentives are broken or it's designed this way. Now, either way, let's turn the fucking table over and start stacking sats. Like, there's a better solution in Bitcoin.
Bars. All right, everybody. Before we move on to the culture, I want to give a very, very special shout out to our sponsor, Kaboom Racks. You can scan the QR code on your screen. It'll take you directly to the Kaboom Racks Telegram marketplace, where you can find the best deals, the top deals, the best prices. Also, they offer repair and hosting services all in one place. You can go to the Kaboom. Kaboom Racks website. Are you looking for the best place to buy miners? The answer is Kaboom Racks. You can get started through our affiliate link in the video description and launch your mining journey with Kaboom Racks today. It's the best place to buy your Bitcoin ASICs. All right, everybody, let's move on to the culture. We're going to talk about Bitcoin Amsterdam. Let's do it.
The Daily Culture.
Brought to you by SwanBitcoin.com. Swan is the best way to build your Bitcoin stack with automated Bitcoin savings plans and instant purchases, serving clients of any size from $10 to $10 million. We love Swan because they incentivize self-custody and dollar cost averaging. What are you waiting for? Visit SwanBitcoin.com today. All right, Opti, what are we talking about today?
Love it. Well, guys, as you know, Brandon works with Bitcoin Magazine, and I am guessing you're going to be in Amsterdam in, 2 weeks? So I don't know. Let's talk about Bitcoin Amsterdam, because we are global. There are people that watch our show that aren't just in America, and we get yelled about it all the time because we always talk about America. Why should people go? What's some sneak peeks, Brandon? What do you got going on over there in Amsterdam?
Yeah, so, we got a great lineup of speakers this year. Ed Snowden's going to be speaking. Stella Assange is going to be speaking as well. Maybe Snowden, Assange, Wombo combo could be coming up, which would be pretty awesome. Two of the great kind of martyrs for freedom and privacy kind of in the world. Outside of that, the European Bitcoin community is amazing, right? Like, very tech driven, very focused on kind of what Bitcoin offers you personally for your privacy, your freedom, your ability to opt out of the system, and it's kind of a great juxtaposition for what really is a broad-reaching government that they kind of live under, right? Like the Bitcoiners are the ones who are trying to opt out of whether it's new MiCA laws that require you to disclose basically your entire net worth every time you cross a border, right? Like having to look into every transaction that you send, making sure that everything is taxed properly. I mean, it's a draconian financial system that's becoming more and more overbearing. And, Bitcoin just stands as this stark contrast to it, right? It's the way out. And so, Europeans love Bitcoin for that reason. And, it's a fun crowd too. A lot of these people have been in for 6, 7, 8, 10 years. They've been around the block. They've seen this thing go through a few cycles. And they have like a level of expertise and real enjoyment of it that maybe some of the people who are newer to Bitcoin, they're still feeling the waves of the roller coaster. They're still feeling the ups and downs, right? And really in Amsterdam, it's just good vibes. So yeah, would love to see everyone there, and super excited to be there in just a couple weeks.
I'm pretty sure also, guys, that our promo works simply and you'll get a discount for Bitcoin Amsterdam tickets. I'm pretty sure that's the case. But I haven't gone yet. I'm definitely going to make the journey. So many conferences in the US this year. I'm bouncing left and right. But I have to make the trek. I have to make the trek because I've heard so many good things about Bitcoin Amsterdam. Let's talk a little bit about the venue, because the venue is absolutely epic, right?
Yeah, it's a converted natural gas dome. So it was like originally the place where the entire city of Amsterdam was powered. You can kind of see, that giant circle there. So that roof actually used to expand. It would just blow up like a balloon with natural gas every night, and then condense down as it's used overnight and during the day. So yeah, it's beautiful. There's kind of like an indoor outdoor, little bit of a festival vibe that we got going on. And I mean, it's Amsterdam too, right? Like Amsterdam's a really fun city. You go out, you get drinks, you partake in whatever sort of festivities you'd like to partake in. And you're with kind of your people, right? You're with the Bitcoiners. So it's a great time. Yeah, I love it.
That's awesome, dude. And another thing, right? So it's not only you guys are, if my memory serves me correctly, you guys also announced Bitcoin Asia as well, right?
Yeah, so something we're cooking up probably down the line here is doing an Asia event, maybe in Hong Kong. We'll see. But on the backs of us kind of going over there, it's clear that Bitcoin's global. Your point about, your audience is global. Bitcoin's global, right? So, being based in the US, we have limited perspective, but we also have limited reach. And in order to, accomplish our goal of hyper Bitcoinization, which means every person in the world, every institution, every government, every person using Bitcoin in their daily lives, in order to make that happen, you got to be where everyone is, and that's everywhere. So, our goal is to continue to grow what we're doing on the event side and reach more people and keep spreading the word of Bitcoin to everyone in the world. So, we're talking to folks in South America, we're talking to folks in Central America, we're talking to folks in Asia, in Africa, in the Middle East, in Europe. We want everywhere to be, we want to paint it orange. And so, we're young, we're small, we're trying to figure out how to continue to do that and to build and grow. So Asia is definitely going to come soon. But most importantly is just being able to reach the communities and hang out together. Bitcoin's digital. Bitcoin is kind of remote. You're online. You maybe don't even know the people you're talking to. Meeting them in person, being able to grab a beer, being able to just relax and talk about the things that we find interesting that maybe the rest of the world doesn't, like freedom and like privacy and tech and building new things and not asking for permission to do it. I mean, it's just it's so much fun, and it's why we're all here. So I think it holds a special place. And it's funny you mentioned that there's just tons of conferences right now. There's actually we've been through this ringer a little bit, right? The conference cycle is like a delayed following of the Bitcoin price cycle, right? You're usually off by about a year. So, I'm not surprised that everyone's just inundated with conferences right now. So, it is what it is. But, they're great. The reason why there's so many is because everyone enjoys, just being able to hang out together in person. And nothing can replace that.
100%. And a lot of people forget that, right? Like Bitcoin Twitter is not the same as hanging out with Bitcoiners in real life. Actually, me and Opti met for the first time at a Bitcoin conference, and that's really where our friendship kind of evolved. And then that one thing led to another, and then that's like that relationship though started when I think we shared a room together, bro. Like I didn't even know you. I think like we were like on Bitcoin kindergarten with Nick Cam Minus before he joined Bitcoin Mag. And we were just talking. I think it was like Surfer Jim, and Surfer Jim was like, you guys absolutely have to go to a Bitcoin conference. And then
Nico was like, yo, if I get a room, get a ticket and we're sharing it. I'm like, all right, cool. Here we go.
Yeah, because I didn't want to go alone. And then it turned out to be a great time, right? So I can't emphasize enough the importance of Bitcoin conferences. It's like a great excuse. Not only is it a great time and a great atmosphere, but it's a great excuse to hang out with your online friends that you never see, right? It's like you kind of all coalesce, you all come together, you have drinks, you hang out. You get to see some of your favorite Bitcoiners, have conversations with them. Yeah, man, I completely agree. Before we move on to the memes, Brandon, what is the thing that you're most excited about this year at Bitcoin Amsterdam?
Most excited about at Bitcoin Amsterdam, honestly, we did Amsterdam last year, and it was in October again, and so we were about 2 weeks before everything blew up, right? It was still the party was on. It was a bear market, but it wasn't that bad. Everyone was like, oh man, this bear market's not going to be bad at all, right? Everything blows up. So I think that what I'm most excited about is just seeing everyone again, and being able to kick back and just take a breath. And I'm of the opinion that we're in the part of the cycle right now that I call the extreme apathy phase, right? It's where no one's paying attention, and you start building all of these small bullish blocks that are going to be the real foundation of the next bull market. And the people who are really paying attention, the people who are here, we see it all happening, and we're all super excited about it. And then we turn around and kind of look out, and no one's paying attention. And so it's we're in that part of the market right now. And so it's a fun part, because the people who are paying attention, you get to just enjoy some of these tailwinds. And so I love hanging out with the Bitcoiners, and that's what I'm most excited about. And, the content's going to be amazing. We got some great companies that are going to be there, brand new companies. They're doing really cool things. We're just talking to a solar mining company that's, using Bitcoin kind of as a battery, as, some people like to talk about, right? The economic battery of Bitcoin. I'm not going to weigh in on that, but yeah, people are still innovating, creating new cool companies, and excited to meet them as well. And just have a great time.
Absolutely, man. I can't recommend them enough. Guys, we have a promo. Use promo Simply, and you'll get a discount to Bitcoin Amsterdam, pretty sure. And definitely you'll get a discount to the Bitcoin conference that's going to be happening in Nashville, Tennessee, the year of the halving. Opti and I will be there. It's going to be a great time. And yeah, I can't emphasize enough how fun Bitcoin conferences are. Whether you're trying to get a job in the industry, you're trying to hang out with your Bitcoin friends, or you're trying to see some of your favorite Bitcoiners in real life, in the flesh, the Bitcoin conference is definitely the place to be.
Wait, Nico, before we go to memes, guys, if you haven't been to one yet, you need to go to one, because if you're still the crazy Bitcoiner in your community, you need to experience being around other people that are like-minded. You're like, oh, I'm not crazy. Okay, there's other people like me.
Absolutely.
Dude, it's a really good point, actually, and something that I probably have kind of lost perspective on. But dude, there are people who are sitting in this bear market right now who need to talk about what's going on. And, a lot of people aren't used to seeing their net worth, collapse by 80%. And so, you have to be able to appreciate that it can be tough to ride out a bear market. And, sometimes you need to be able to talk to someone who's been there and can give you the perspective, can commiserate with you, can, remind you why we're all here, right? We both do Bitcoin all the time, all day, right? And so, sometimes we lose sight of the fact that, it's important to have that connection to it, so that, you don't feel like you're just in it alone and the crazy person in your town who talks about Bitcoin. Yeah.
100%.
100%, dude. All right, guys, let's jump to the memes. Favorite part of everyone. Everyone just tunes in for the memes. They don't care about anything else. Anyways, guys, let's jump straight into it.
The Daily Meme Review.
All right, guys, you know the deal. This is the meme review where you tag us.
Do you have the song?
Oh yeah, I do. I have it over here. I almost forgot. I played it yesterday.
Okay. I'm excited.
I played it yesterday. Yeah. I almost forgot to put it back up today. Anyways, this is the meme review where you tag me on Twitter, either at Simply Bitcoin TV, or actually maybe just tag Simply Bitcoin TV and the Optimus Fields one, whatever. Kill two birds with one stone. Our Twitter account's getting kind of crazy, so I might be missing stuff. But don't just tag your favorite memes. You can tag your own memes as well. And then also drop them in our Telegram group, t.me/simplybitcointv. We have broken 1,000 people in there. I'd love to see it. And we are, what do we say? Numbers going up. It's going up forever.
Numbers going up in the Telegram group. Just join in there. You know, bro, it's lively AF.
Yeah. Shout out to Darth Mod. Darth
Coin, Darth Coin, the Darth Mod.
Yeah,
is holding it down. It's a party in there. Sometimes he hosts like the Telegram equivalent of Twitter Spaces on the weekends, so it's pretty dope. Just join our Telegram group. It's free.
Yeah.
t.me/simplybitcointv.
Anyways, you guys already know we are in an information war. So continue to ridicule the corporate press, continue to get calls of actions in your memetic warfare, and of course, make sure your friends and family are having some lulls throughout this whole journey. Tweets are the bullets, memes are the artillery. We are the front lines of the information war. Anyways, this first meme is by The World of Rusty. Shouts out to World of Rusty. And you can see here he's quote tweeting Watcher Guru, and it goes, just in, SEC Chair Gary Gensler says Bitcoin is not a security, but refuses to say it's a commodity. And Rusty goes, the legacy system's still trying to work out where Bitcoin fits. And you can see this Bitcoin hammer playing that one game where you put the different shapes into the box and they don't know which shape goes into which hole. And we got currency, or is it a stock? Or wait, is it property? Or wait, is it like bonds or Pokemon cards or credit default swaps or AAA credit or derivatives? Wait, is it credit or security, commodity? Like, which one is it? They have no fucking clue, and they probably won't for a while. And this is why you can get cheap sats. Anyways, this next meme is by HODLCat21, and he goes, nah. And we got a girl here talking to a Bitcoiner and goes, can you just talk like a normal person? And the Bitcoiner doesn't know how to talk. This is what we're saying about the going to the conferences. I only talk in memes now, and no one knows what the hell I'm saying. And the memes are HODL and buy the dip. Which one are we? Like, people, I'm still like, are you regarded? What are you talking about? You're saying 3 words to me. What is going on? You're just like, yeah, have fun staying poor. Anyway, this next one is by Romolo, and he goes, as simple as that. If you want some freedom, then you need to buy some Bitcoin. And this is a sign. I don't know where this was. Maybe it's a protest. Maybe this was Occupy Wall Street. Who knows? But this guy gets it. If you want some freedom, you need to buy some Bitcoin. This next one is by Smeetbat, or maybe actually this might be Bitcoin Magazine. This might be a Pete Rizzo stolen meme. And he goes, Bitcoin is the most outstanding mathematical miracle. It's better than gold. And we have Steve Wozniak quoted as saying that July 9th, 2022. If you know, you know. Anyway, this next one is by Vizik. Yes. He goes, freedom of voice versus freedom of choice. The freedom to communicate, the freedom to transact, the decentralized revolution. Hashtag Bitcoin.
I am Bill.
Oops, wrong one. Sorry. All right, this next one is by Ding Dong 3001. He goes, great times ahead. Don't stop stacking as we get into the bright orange future. And
rocket ship, get on board.
And this last one is by other Barry BTC.
Is that yellow?
Yeah, it's yellow. And he goes, don't forget to check in on your friends. And RDBTC over here is quote tweeting, goes, you're memeing really hard. Are you okay? And we have a picture of Yellow here drinking way too many Red Bulls and still has no energy and absolutely devastated. This is why you need to get to conferences so you get revitalized and you realize I am not the crazy person. I'm actually just ahead of the curve. Anyways, I see Nico already has his meme review score.
No, this is not my meme review.
Oh, he's just petting Yellow.
No.
Heavy petting Yellow.
What is my meme review score is what is in Yellow's Bitcoin backpack. If I can get it open. And it's a sticker. Boom.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you pre-package that just for today, or is it just sitting there?
I think it was just sitting there.
All right. My meme review score for today is my now retired SM7B microphone. It was a good run, but I think we have upgraded to the RE20. So retired SM7B, she's a beaut. I still love this mic though. All right.
Okay.
What's your review score?
I think I know how to do this, but so my meme review score is this clicker that's on my desk because my girlfriend just got us a standing desk treadmill. Like the latest torture device just dropped, and so I'm not gonna lie, I did not just walk a treadmill the entire time we were talking here, but That's
How do those things work? Like, do you move around a lot? Like, I feel like I wouldn't get anything done.
I don't know.
Awesome. Man. All right, everybody. So before we get to the meme scores, check out the Simply Bitcoin merch. Go scan the QR code on your screen. It will take you directly to simplybitcoin.com, where you can get the latest Simply Bitcoin merch, the t-shirt or the hoodie, whichever you prefer. Definitely check it out. Get yourself some Simply Bitcoin merch today. Scan the QR code on your screen right now. All right, Opti, cue the epic music.
All right, yeah, but we don't. I think we have a strong delay, because we only have one here, and I don't think we can say that one.
Did we say to drop the meme scores in the live chat?
I feel like they know. I don't think we did, but I feel like they know by now.
To drop the meme scores in the live chat.
Okay, we got a few. All right, ready.
Shout out Daft. Is it playing in the background?
Is it not playing for you?
Yeah, it is. Okay. Anyway, could you turn it up? All right, there we go. All right, the first score. Apparently, Opti's in the chat. My score is Bitcoin Mag's famous Bitcoiner Pinup Edition, including 69 picks. Pinup Edition, including 69 pics of Chrissy. Brandon, if you don't know, the inside joke is that Opti dated Christine Lagarde. Every day, Walking with Christ says, meme score 21 of my 63 candles on my Bitcoin is Freedom birthday cake. Okay. All right. Kim Gage, I've taken a short position on Nico turning into Chewbacca. Congrats on the baby. Arg. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. UTXO, my meme score is my refusal to drop a meme review score unless specifically prompted to.
Okay, we'll hold your hand.
Okay. What is?
What's so?
Are we buzzing it? Oh, we got one more.
Oh,
we got two more.
Two. Sorry.
Okay, me.
Delay.
There's a crap ton of a delay. One Pocahontas. Okay, and the last one by Jose S. Bam. My score is 20 social credit score. And the last one, Everyday Walking with Christ, Opti, a meme score, Opti singing Happy Birthday to me.
Happy birthday to you.
Stop. All right, guys, if you enjoyed the show, thank you so much for tuning in today. Our audience from Rumble, we appreciate you guys. Audience from YouTube, audience from Twitter, and of course, podcast listeners. We appreciate you all. I want to thank our very special guest, Brandon. Thank you so much for joining us on the show today. Really appreciate it. Why don't you tell everybody where they can find you on the interwebs?
Yeah, I exist. You can just check me out at Bitcoin Magazine, of course, but also the Bitcoin Conference and at Brand BTC on Twitter. That's me.
Thank you so much for joining us today, bro. We really appreciate it. All right, guys, if you enjoyed the show, you know what to do. Smash that like button. Consider subscribing if you feel like we provided you value. But the number one thing you could do to push the peaceful Bitcoin revolution is share this content. In fact, share all Bitcoin content. Don't be exclusive. Be inclusive. Don't share shitcoin content. That's counterproductive. We love you all. If you want to join the after party, we're holding down a Twitter Spaces with our friends over at Swan Bitcoin, best place to build your Bitcoin stack, and we'll be holding that down until 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you want to join the after party, and Brandon potentially might join us, definitely tune in to Twitter Spaces. Opti's going to be holding it down. Until then, guys, love you all. We'll see you tomorrow for another episode of Simply Bitcoin Live.